There's something funny about Melbourne. Comedy's baked into the fabric of our city. I mean, have you seen hook turns? They're hilarious. Some year-round comedy clubs, they're fleeting. Others become institutions. And it's at places like that that household names cut their teeth, while other acts vanish into obscurity. From the trailblazing Flying Trapeze Cafe, Rod Contock and Mary Keneally's Comedy Cafe, and the legendary Last Laugh restaurant and zoo, to the 90s mayhem of the Prince Pat and St Kilda's SB Comedy. It takes passion, commitment, and a little bit of crazy to run a comedy venue. Today, there are comedy rooms in Melbourne giving stage time to a whole generation of comedians, 7 days a week, all year round. The Melbourne comedy scene has always been surprising, ingenious, exciting, and world class. A springboard for Australian performers to take on the world.
I'm going to leave this family one day.
Like, why don't they just put stand-up on TV all the time?
We can see the cum on your face, girl. We're not. I'm a comedian!
On Exhibition Street, right in the heart of the CBD, every Friday and Saturday evening, there's a pro room that runs at the European Bier Café. What's that? Well, that's when comedians turn up with their best material and perform to a wicked audience. Its name? Basement Comedy. Because, get this, it's in the basement.
Hey, Mum.
The room has existed, but the shell that it is in has moved all around the city.
I think this is the fourth or fifth venue because it's always been a really good night, but just the venue keeps closing. So it's like you would start to look at the comedy night and go, what's wrong with this comedy night? It's haunted.
Because it was you and two other guys that started a room.
Yes, Comedy at Spleen, which is still going. Basically because we couldn't get on at other rooms. Some other people knocked us back and we were like, well, we founded this 12-year-old room through bitterness and failure. Yeah. And it was a thing where I would go to other rooms and get so frustrated that you'd look around and go, why haven't they fixed this? Why isn't there any posters out the front? Why have they locked the front door? You get to a point where you go, I guess I've got to do this.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's a bit hectic on a Saturday night. It's party night, so, there's a few glasses getting broken.
Because you're a stand-up as well, does it sometimes wreck your head when you're organising everything about the night, getting punters in, getting the acts on, and then you've got to switch your brain over to, now I've got to do some stand-up?
That is actually really tough because, it's just like one side of the brain versus the other side of the brain, isn't it? You go business and then you're like, this needs to be right, this needs to be right. Anyway, how you going, everyone? Good?
So we just had 4 people wanting to get in and go, we've got tickets. I'm like, your name's not on the list. They came to the wrong night.
Welcome down here to Basement Comedy Club. Who's up for a massive night of comedy? Oh, man, it's always a killer gig here. Just fucking have fun. It's one of the best lineups in the country right now. So let's go crazy. Here comes your MC. Put your hands together. Get warmed up. Yeah. Your MC all night is Danny McGinlay.
Hello! Welcome you all. Look at this. It doesn't get better. It's Saturday night. We're fucking Melburnians. We're fucking out of the house. It's still a thrill. It's still exciting.
You are one of the better MCs in the country, I would say.
Oh, thank you.
You're making sure that the energy is all there, that the crowd isn't going too off the rails.
Yeah, you're sort of the, when it comes to rowdy crowds, you're the canary in the mine. It's sort of your job to work out where they're at and how drunk they are and how aggressive they are.
But I'm very proud of Australian cooking website. I do all the cooking in our house. Of course I do. She's Ukrainian. She's beautiful, intelligent. She's my favourite person, but cuisine is not a priority. She'll cook about once every 6 months and I'll just hear from the kitchen, oh no! The potatoes have too much flavour. I will boil them for another hour.
I'd want this to be true, and I'm hoping it is.
All right.
You were so young when you started stand-up comedy that your dad would have to take you into the clubs.
Yeah. I was 16 when I started getting up at the open mics at like the Espy and the Star and Garter.
Did you?
And I was quite tall and had long hair, so I looked about 18.
Oh, right, so you're 16 this time.
16 at this time, and but the Star and Garter worked it out. And Tony, who's now runs the Comics Lounge, him and my dad made a deal that as long as Dad was in the venue, it was fine. I was on my L's, I'd drive me and Dad in, and then he'd sit in the front bar, gas bag into Tony, have a few beers, and then I'd drive Dad home.
So I do all the cooking, and I'm very proud of Australian cooking websites, taste.com.au. Yeah, you know, it just treats you like a grown-up. That's what I love about it. Oh, you want to make biscuits, do you, mate? Yeah, no worries. That's what they should look like. You need flour, butter, eggs, sugar. Fuck off. Thanks. Because have you ever seen an American cookery website? You get the same recipe for the same biscuits. They're called Freedom Cookies or whatever. And you go, yeah, sweet, I want to make that. And then there's a fucking essay. My mom used to make these cookies for me every summer at Cape Cod. Yeah, I don't fucking care. I'll scroll through this. Jesus, go for it. You fucking stop 5 pages in and the flavour reminds me of the 4th of July. Fucking shut up. You keep going. You get to the fucking... My little Jeremy's allergic to flour, so I replaced it with bullets. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Comedy rooms always need an MC, so it's worth working on those skills. I practiced my crowd work. Whenever I was doing a gig, I'd try and do a bit of crowd work in there, and so many times it went nowhere.
You can't write your way out of crowd work. You can't during the day think, so what if someone said this in the crowd?
Yeah. If any young comics are watching this, do crowd work, but always just be ready to go into a really good joke to save it. So yeah, I don't know why more comics don't do crowd work. It's it's the immediacy that stand up brings.
Yeah, that front row. Yeah, they look like they're going to be hard boys. I'm going to chat to them now. Start of the second. We're going to see how they all know each other and hope for the best. How do you guys all know each other?
Oh, we like to strangle each other.
We like to strangle each other. None of them are disagreeing. You guys are fucking good with your alibis. Well done. You all like to strangle each other. All right. You all play hangman together? Is it a sporting thing?
Yeah.
All right. Fuck, this is a game for the whole crowd now. If anyone wants to suggest it, all right, strangle each other. Rugby? Wrestling. Oh. Good guess. 10 points to Gryffindor, yes. AFL? Is it footy? No, it's not footy. No. None of that super shit. Like you're saying this and you keep looking around like, that was a good clue, wasn't it? Fuck it. Oh, yeah, all right, mastermind. Fuck, okay. Is it wrestling?
No, it's jiu-jitsu.
Oh, jiu-jitsu. Jesus, you guys just got a lot fucking scarier then. Okay, we're done with crowd work.
Mate, you did something that was, I would say, very altruistic to the comedy industry, where you wrote a how-to MC.
Yes. It was about a decade ago now, but it's gone all over the world. In fact, I once just Googled it to see how far it had gone. It was in Mandarin. It ultimately came from just seeing people MC badly. Weirdly though, whenever I reread it now, I see some of the rules that I wrote and I break them now.
Okay, so we're in the green room at Basement Comedy, and it appears that this is where all of the toilet paper was stored during the lockdown. There's a tripping hazard right here that we're going to try and avoid. And there's not enough chairs for everybody, so we'll get a little bit cosy and un-COVID safe on each other's laps. This is pretty good though, as far as they go.
It's like right near the stage as well, so I can hear everything.
You're also a good hang backstage. Do you enjoy the hang just as much as the gig?
Yeah, if I've got mates backstage, it's the best. Dear Diary, my name's Claire Hooper. Today a car cut me off on my way to my gig.
Something to show you.
Oh, that was just for you. The best of friends.
There's two biggest cutie pies.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's always the biggest cuties bond together.
Yeah.
It's like, that's one of the things that I really love about the job is like sometimes it's way funnier back there. You know,
this
like,
gig's gotten in the way of my comedy.
Yeah. I was doing a tight 5 in the green room and
I'm crushing it now. I've got to go do my job. Yeah. Brutal.
They're just filming me crushing in the green room.
Get off! You suck. This is the worst. Heard it.
Hoops, don't yawn.
All right. I've got this cold coffee. I'll be fine.
Oh, is someone filming in here? That's just so weird. Why would they do that?
I've never asked you this before. Did you start doing stand-up in Melbourne?
I did. Yes, I did, but you wouldn't know that because I started in a very bizarre way. I didn't know about open mic rooms and I didn't know how to get into it.
Yeah.
So I just wrote a show, a terrible, terrible show.
Like an hour-long show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then did the show in Canberra, did it in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Long story short, I had a public relations background, so
Right.
I got too many bumps on seats in hindsight, because it was just too many bridges to burn.
Yeah, right.
Later on when I got into the comedy scene, like a few of my new mates in comedy were like, oh yeah, we thought you were really arrogant when you were starting out. Just thought you were a hot shot that was above the open mic rooms. So I'm going for like the ignorant card rather than the arrogant card.
Sure.
Well, I was in a supermarket recently and a small child yelled out at me, hey, you look like a man. And I said, can you please tell that to my boss so it's reflected in my pay? Like, just boom. I don't even have a boss. Got him. It turns out in aisle 4 you can find the tea, coffee and a bit of sass about the gender pay gap. So.
But you're always up gigging. Most nights you're up doing a spot?
At the moment it feels like it, yeah. Yeah, I actually really love it.
You do?
Yeah, because comedy feels like a puzzle to me. Like from, you know, the inception of an idea and you're like, oh, that's kind of a little bit funny.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like fitting all of the pieces together like over several nights and it feels like the completion of the puzzle when you're like, all right, comedy's been solved. I was in an Uber recently and the driver said to me, I thought your name was Kirsty, and I said it is. And I thought this is going to be good. And he said, yeah, huh. Yeah, righto, it's just I thought Kirsty was a girl's name. And I said, it is. And he said, that sucks, bro. Melbourne audiences that come out to comedy are fairly savvy. People love coming up and telling you, like essentially they feel like they've discovered you.
Right,
like,
yeah.
They've never heard of you. They're like, where have you come from? Like, they're just like, it's a fresh face and we enjoyed what they were saying sort of thing. Oh, I love it. I always get messages from people that like came to see one of my first shows years and years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And like they'll send me like a photo of something like on their computer or like something out of the media or whatever, or they'll be like, I heard you on the radio today. I remember your first show up at the Wesleyan. And
that's nice.
I love it. Good on him. I've always wanted to be a star. I always wanted to, ever since I was a kid. Like when I was 6 years old, and in grade 1, the whole school was stuck in the gym one lunchtime, right? Just running wild. And the principal's trying to turn everything around. There's this chaos. And she gets up on stage and she goes, does anyone have a joke that they'd like to share with the rest of the school? And I wasn't especially outgoing or confident, but I was like, yeah, fucking yes. Yes. I was like, choose me. And the reason I was so desperate to get up there was that I'd heard a joke on the way to school. On the radio, right? It was a different time, it was the 90s. I'd heard this joke. I had not understood the joke. I'd not understood it, but like I just knew I had to share it with people because like the hosts were loving it sick, like Fitzy, Fluffy and Fucko, right? They were beside themselves, so I was like, I need to get this out into the public domain. So the principal chooses me, I get up on stage and I go, how do you make a pool table laugh? And the principal's right there and she's like, how do you make a pool table laugh? And I go, you stick your hands down its pockets and tickle its balls. I hadn't understood the joke. The rest of the school didn't understand the joke, but one thing became apparent very quickly, and that was that Sister Jude got the joke. She got the joke and she fucking hated the joke. She hated it so much. She came zooming across that stage like an attack penguin. She was like, get down! Get down! Get down! So So what I'm trying to say is don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on them, because the first time I tried stand-up comedy, I got booed off the stage by a nun. And I'm back. I'm back, baby. We're all good. I'm a big milestones person. I remember the first time that Karl Chandler told me I could do spleen. He sent me a message and it was probably just like, yo, want to do spleen on Monday? And I was like,
Guys.
this is it? This is it?
You got the invite to do the Comedy All-Stars. That's TV gala time.
It's TV gala time.
This is it.
I'd love to say that I was disaffected by the phone call, but that's a lie. I cried.
Did you?
Yeah, I had a little cry.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, this has been a really big dream for me. So it was, definitely the biggest deal so far for me. So I had a cry, wiped up the mess and the tears, and then it was just tears. I made it sound way more sinister.
How excited were you?
Yeah. We had to get a new couch.
Kirsty Webeck!
That whole set was 8:14.
Great.
But it felt good. It felt good for almost a gala set.
I don't know, man, I don't know. Yes, absolutely.
You went from I don't know to yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to ask someone else.
Yeah, you probably should.
I've noticed though the cool thing about your rooms is you run them during the comedy festival and you'll get big acts come down.
Yeah, that's what I really love. I really love the sound of a comedy room when there's an unbilled comedian.
On the stage from TV, Pete Hellier!
Yeah, we've had so many, big names, and especially that thing is, if you're in a good room, people want to do it. It was Todd Barry, Sarah Silverman and Will Anderson on the same gig, and people just walked in, and they weren't billed, they were all surprise guests. People were just like, Jesus, who's on next week? And I'm like, sorry, it's Dave Thornton. They're like, all right.
I was in a restaurant and the waiter was explaining to me the specials, and he said the soup of the day is tomato with a hint of basil. And I was like, dude, that's not a hint. You just fucking gave it away. The key to a good hint is not to put the answer within it. Here's a suggestion of what you should say to your next customer. The soup of the day is tomato plus something beginning with B. It's also a man's name. Oh, here we go. I'm so good I get walk-ins. I was in a cafe, I looked at the menu, there's an item on the menu called a duck sandwich. That kind of made me feel sad in a way. Because I thought, finally, that duck is literally surrounded by bread. Now he's in no position to enjoy it. Big duck sandwich fans over there. So.
Karl doing duck sandwich is like Nirvana playing Smells Like Teen Spirit live.
The Stones doing Satisfaction.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't finish. You've got to put it in there. All the fans go crazy.
Yeah.
They're like, where is it?
The attitude of interstate people versus Melbourne. Melbourne take it for granted a little bit, their comedy.
Sure.
Because you can see whoever you want all the time, sort of. But people from Perth or Brisbane, I always know when they're there because they'll come up and go, this is amazing. And I'm like, Perth or Brisbane? And they go, Brisbane. How did you know? Like, that's what you guys are like. You're extra appreciative. Whereas, people from Melbourne are a little bit like, yeah, I know Will Anderson's been on, Hughesy's been on, Denise Scott's been on, but who else is on tonight?
Yeah.
Like, all right, mate.
Whenever I see a bunch of guys all wearing high-vis uniforms, I always think, man, it looks like someone highlighted all the people that didn't finish year 10. And who earn more money than me.
Yeah, good. That was. It's a relief. You know what the worst thing is when you run a gig and then you go on and you go bad at your own gig. That's extra embarrassing.
Yeah, it's so good, Karl.
Now all the pressure is off. Everyone's happy, especially me. So all good. Thank you.
You went through stages of joy.
I'm feeling a bit nervous, but should be good. Just trying to decide what to do.
If anything, I've realised, Urvi, we look like heavy booze hounds because we last spoke at the Cooper's Inn and now we're hanging out here at Euro at the bar.
Closer to the beer as well.
Have you been working on the gear since?
Yeah, so there's a couple of jokes. I guess I'm trying to see what order I want to do them in my own show for Comedy Festival. You'd think I'd have it figured out with 2 weeks to go, but I'm getting there. Give us a cheer if you're in a couple here. Yeah. Yay, love. It's good. Yay. Love the old ball and chain. But I don't know if you guys have this dynamic, but I feel like in every couple, there's one who tries to, be resourceful, save everything, and the other person who's just obsessed with throwing shit away. That's like what they were born to do. Like in my relationship, I feel like I'm becoming my parents. I'm like, we need to save, do everything, like life is hard. And my boyfriend is just obsessed with throwing shit in the bin. Like, I'll be cooking dinner and before I have time to put it in Tupperware, it's in the bin already. And I'm like, we both grew up poor. I don't know where you're getting this like Brighton mentality. It's fucked.
Have you done this gig before at Basement?
I actually did it for the first time last night. So yeah,
wow.
Yeah, it was. I think it's always this room I associate with being like when you're a bigger comedian, you get to do this room because it's somewhere I used to probably come when I first started out just to watch the bigger acts. Yeah, it's just the space here makes it really cozy, I guess, and everyone feels, and it's very dark, so it's good for laughter. So yeah, I felt like it went well.
Yeah, I always feel because it's below street level, you feel like you can
hide away.
Yeah. And kind of how comedy should exist, kind of underground.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of just feel it's not dingy at all. It's just maybe we can just edit that out. Sorry, I don't know why I said dingy. It's not dingy.
It's intimate.
It's not dingy. I mean, like my vocab's effed. I don't know. It feels like you can try new things, and you'd kind of just recommend people to come to this room if they were like, what's a good room for comedy.
I fucked myself over the other day because I went to the fridge and I saw that the milk was expiring on the 13th, and I was like, oh, sick, today's the 13th. I'll finish off the milk. So I start making myself 2 really milky cups of tea, and with every sip I was like, tastes a bit weird. And then in the next breath I'm like, girl, this is organic milk. You don't even know what expensive tastes like, Just like down that shit, you're not throwing this away. So I go finish it all, and then I go to throw away the container, and I realise that it's expired on the 13th of January. Yeah. And it's now the 13th of Feb. And I've just, gaslit myself into drinking 1 month off milk. It's so gross. I felt so sick, and I had to tell someone, so I called my dad, and he was so proud of me. Yeah.
It was really fun, like those crowds. You're going to have a ball of it.
Yeah, I'm feeling all right. I'm very, very, very tired. I'm hoping I'll have fun. I know I won't remember it. Like, that's how sleazy I am. Was that miserable? I mean, imagine complaining about being tired. Oh, pathetic.
Basement comedy. How many times have you done this now?
I wouldn't know, heaps of times.
Yeah, heaps of times.
Yeah.
Because it's such a good room.
Yeah, and I've heard other comics say this talking to you today, but like it is the one where when you've got someone from out of town coming into town, they're like, where should I see comedy? You feel really safe saying, oh, you could just go to the Euro. Like it's always a really safe bet.
Wish I had a pen. Just make it a P.
You started in Perth, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I was working in children's educational theatre. It gives you really good stage feet for comedy. Do you know what I mean? Like kids are rowdy and hard to control and very vocal when they're not enjoying things. You know what I mean? Like, and then you come to a crowd of adults who've had like 2 drinks and you're like, you're pretty much the same.
You guys genuinely, I'm not pissing in your pocket. You're one of the better crowds that we've had. Keep your energy up because your headliner is one of my absolute favourites, ladies and gentlemen, and you're going to fucking love her. So here we go, my friends. Bang your hands together. Welcome to the stage. You know her. She's awesome. She's Claire Hooper!
I like how he called you one of the better crowds we've had. That's how I proposed to my husband. So you heard some really awful things tonight, some really foul language, and that is going to stop now, people, because I do have 2 very small women at home, and I don't swear now. I certainly don't use the C word. Not now I have 2 little C words of my own at home. How dare you? How dare you?
Where do you think you went wrong? Oh well, we'll get him next time.
Because you're a mate, I forget that you're actually really good at comedy.
Oh, that's actually
that's
nice.
right, he's really good.
So used to you just being Penny and Sylvie's mum.
Yeah, I'm used to your jokes being, Penny, stop hugging Ted. Ted, put the book down and talk to your friends. Like that's
Yeah. When our kids hang out, her daughter just chases my son around like Pepe Le Pew. It's quite adorable.
And I was born in Perth, and they were both born in Melbourne, which means that the minute they came out, they were cooler than me. Like the minute they came out, and I still stare at them sometimes when they do things. This is an actual thing that happened this week. Both of them started chanting in unison, "Kale chips, kale chips." I was like, what is happening? Are they for or against, right? They are so Melbourne. They'll be wanting to be unvaccinated next. That's the last time I let them trick or treat in Brunswick.
So then, why did you move to Melbourne? Was it because you wanted to,
Yeah, I
you wanted
moved
to keep
to
going
Melbourne
with
for
stand-up?
comedy.
It was
Yeah.
for stand-up?
Yeah, it was an interesting one because I had a pretty serendipitous journey. I was very lucky, and I realised that. So I feel like I was right place, right time, right voice. But I'd just done a show at Comedy Festival that was a little bit odd. You know, it's the one where I didn't speak, and
there you go.
so I knew that I had to have thyroid surgery. They told me there was this tiny chance that I could lose my voice because the vocal cord nerves are in around the thyroid. So I was like, okay, so I'll write a 1-hour show that I could tour if I lose my voice. And it was all so it was a comedy show with no speaking.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did that. So I think, I wasn't being strategic, but I think I got noticed, and I had a very good manager that you would be familiar with.
True.
Who basically said, let me know when you move to Melbourne. And I went, I've moved to Melbourne. It was just, okay, that's really obvious. I'll just move to Melbourne. So I did, and it's been excellent because Perth is a really lovely place to start out. But it's a lot harder to get to the point of making a living because not as much TV's made there, and there's not as many rooms to try out your new jokes. So yeah, Melbourne's a good place to sort of step up.
I'm loving getting older, I'll be honest. I know that we're meant to be afraid of it, but I've noticed that the older I get, the better I get at turning out my anger from inwards to outwards. It feels great. In my 20s, I was all like, oh, I'm ugly, I'm a loser. And now I'm in my 40s, I'm like, you're ugly, you're a loser. Feels great. I know I'm not old, but I have stopped choosing my underwear in the morning in case I get lucky. And I now choose my underwear in the morning in case my luck runs out. In both cases, you're choosing it for the person who'll see it when your clothes are torn off your body. And in both cases, hope it's a doctor.
Do you feel that the comedy scene in Melbourne has changed since you started?
I feel like there are more nights that are good and that you can rely on, and I feel like people have become way better at doing inclusive lineups. When I touched down, I felt like maybe I was the token minority. Okay. And now I'm like, oh, I'm a straight white woman, I'm nothing. You know what I mean? I feel like most people putting on comedy nights are much better at saying, it will be better if we have a number of different voices and perspectives. When you have somebody much older or much younger who comes from a different racial background and has a different sexual orientation, it's just so much more interesting for the audience, and means they can tell the comedians apart.
Such an amazing audience, you really must come back. We don't want one of those rubbish ones back in again. We just want you instead every time, if that's okay. All right, good. Do you know, I don't usually tell this story, but I'm gonna tell you because I used to do a TV show called The Great Australian Bake Off. Amazing. So it is. It's a really divisive show. 20% of people really love it, and the other 80% don't have Foxtel. So I don't often get recognised for the Great Australian Bake Off, but here's the weird thing I've noticed. It is always at the worst possible moment. So it's been a big 12 months, as I said. So many amazing milestones. I went for a colonoscopy. Don't worry. I'm fine. But I'm dressed in my backless surgery gown and my surgery socks. Walking myself into the surgery, that's the thing. They make you walk yourself in like you want it to happen. It's like a way of making you give them consent, isn't it? Wheel me in on a gurney. I deserve that respect, right? No, yeah, we walk in. Hello, I'd like this to happen. And the nurse opened the door and let me into the surgery and she went, "Hi, I'm Narelle. I've been watching you on the Great Australian Bake Off." Anyway, well, Narelle, get ready for a very different viewing experience. And what does Maggie Beer think of this showstopper? I'm going to get out of here because we've got to close the doors, but thank you so much for coming out and supporting comedy. Good night. I've been tired all day now that I've done a gig. I'll be awake for some time.
This is a team sport. Like, you want everyone on to do well. I mean, I love that about comedy. It's so lovely seeing how another person's brain can spin one tiny idea. That's one of those good audiences. You can't trust them to give you honest feedback. They're just here for the party. You should never trust a good crowd. Would you like a blueberry?